All right, we're going to dive right in and walk through a really powerful framework for tackling one of the toughest issues in relationships today, your partner's pornography use. The goal here is to get you out of that state of hurt and confusion and into a position of strategy and strength. And let's just start right here. Because this feeling, it's real. If you've ever felt that chill in the room or that awful sense of being, well, unwanted or even replaced, I want you to know that experience is completely valid. It is not in your head, and it's actually the most important starting point for this whole journey. So think of your relationship as a fortress, a safe space you built together. We're going to take a look at how this habit can be like a secret weapon that gets brought inside, quietly taking apart your connection from within, and turning that fortress you both shared into a pretty lonely place. This right here is probably the most important mental shift you can make. This is not about blaming him or just sitting in the pain of it all. No, this is about arming yourself with knowledge, with really understanding the mechanics of what's going on so you can act with purpose and, honestly, with power. Okay, so let's get into the why. How does this habit even start and build? Before we can even think about building a bridge back to connection, we have to understand why he's escaping in the first place. What's actually fueling this retreat into a virtual world? So, at its most basic level, we're talking about brain chemistry. It's a form of dopamine-seeking behavior. Now, just thinking about it like that, as a brain that's just looking for a reward, it kind of helps you analyze the situation without getting stuck in judgment. It's a biological process, plain and simple. And what's so fascinating here is how clearly this lays out the path of least resistance. Just look at the two columns. Real intimacy, it takes work, right? You have to be vulnerable, you risk getting rejected. But virtual intimacy, it's effortless, it's instant, and it guarantees pleasure with absolutely zero chance of judgment. It just removes all the hard parts. So where do those hard parts in real life come from? Well, the source material points to two really common areas. The first is what it calls relational friction, things like being turned down a lot or just a tense, negative vibe around sex. The second is a physical sensation gap, where he might not be feeling as much sensation as he expects. Now, that's something he often sees as a personal failure, which only makes that virtual escape seem that much more attractive. Now, listen up, because this next part is maybe the most critical tool you're going to get. Figuring out where this behavior actually started is everything. The origin of the habit is what's going to determine your strategy, and to be honest, the chances of recovery. And here you can see the clear fork in the road. On one side, you've got the Adolescent Blueprint. This is a habit that started way back when he was young, basically wiring his brain for virtual rewards long before real intimacy was even a thing. It's a deep, obsessive loop. On the other side, you've got the relational habit, which popped up later in life more as a coping mechanism for problems in the relationship. That one has a much, much higher chance of being resolved. Okay, so once you figure out the origin, you can start to build your strategy. With this knowledge, we can actually map out a practical, non-punishing plan to build that bridge, to guide him from the virtual world back to the real one, back to you. But before we jump into the strategy, it's really important to understand what's at stake biologically. This is not a harmless habit. Over time, it literally rewires the brain and desensitizes the body. His brain gets so used to these super high-intensity digital images that the normal stimulation of being with a real partner can actually start to feel, well, not enough. So, here's the 3-step game plan. First, you break the cycle of secrecy. Suggesting you do something together brings it out into the open and immediately connects his arousal back to you. Second, you become the novelty he's looking for online. You introduce creative scenarios, role play, you become his main source of excitement. And third, you upgrade the physical connection by training your pelvic floor muscles. Yep, we're talking Kegels, to create a physical sensation that, let's be honest, a screen in a hand just can't compete with. All right, let's wrap this up with the ultimate goal. This whole strategy, it's not just about fixing a problem. It's about fundamentally shifting your role so that you become the most compelling, irresistible, and totally irreplaceable force of reality in his life. And this is such a powerful reframe. Your job is not to be a victim trying to fix a broken man. Not at all. You are the guide. You are the master of your shared reality, and you are actively steering your relationship back to a place where the real connection you two have is way more powerful than any fake digital fantasy. And that, right there, is the end game. That is the whole point of this strategy. When his body
his brain, and his heart are all on the same page that the best, most intense pleasure is found with you, the virtual world just becomes irrelevant. It completely loses its power over him.
So we leave you with this final, very practical thought. Your first step, starting right now, is to diagnose the situation. Use the framework we just talked about to take an honest look. Is this a new coping mechanism that came from a problem in the relationship, or is it a really deep, long-term obsessive loop? Because your answer to that question is what will tell you exactly what to do next.
You can find the electronic version of book She Who Awakens by Alina Chamberlain at wishforlove.org.